Have you ever felt like you were right there, on the verge of something big, you could practically taste it, only to have some, I don't know, invisible force just pull you back? Maybe it's that project you were so excited about, but now it's just kind of gathering dust.
Or an opportunity, maybe.
Exactly. That opportunity you knew you'd nail, but for some reason you never fully went for it. That feeling of being your own biggest roadblock.
Right.
Does that ring a bell for you listening?
I think it's a deeply human experience, really, that internal battle,
Yeah.
between what we aspire to and what we somehow prevent ourselves from actually achieving.
Exactly. And that's the heart of what we're exploring today. Self-sabotage. Think of it as those thoughts and actions that, despite our best intentions, actively undermine our own success, our own happiness even.
Yeah. Self-sabotage often comes from this internal conflict, like a part of us genuinely wants something, yet another part operates from a place of, well, fear or discomfort with that very outcome.
Okay.
So let's begin by looking at some of the common ways this plays out. What are some of those, like, red flags that might signal we're getting in our own way?
Well, the book starts with what it calls the usual suspects. And honestly, I think many of these will feel instantly familiar to people.
Okay.
We're talking about procrastination, that universal experience, right?
Yeah.
Putting things off, even when we know we shouldn't.
Classic.
Then there's perfectionism, which, on the surface sounds like a good thing, a virtue almost.
Yeah, sounds positive.
It can actually paralyze you. It's like setting the bar so impossibly high that you can't even bring yourself to start.
Freezes you up.
And negative self-talk, that constant inner critic just chipping away at your confidence. Plus that persistent feeling of self-doubt. And let's not forget those habits that we know aren't good for us. Maybe consistently staying up too late or turning to unhealthy comforts when things get tough, even though we know they ultimately hinder our progress. Those are definitely the behaviors we often see on the surface.
Yeah.
But maybe we can connect this to the bigger picture, like how these patterns show up in specific areas, our careers, for instance.
Right. Imagine you're looking at job descriptions, right?
Okay.
And you find one that feels like it was written for you.
Yeah.
You've got the skills, the experience, maybe you even exceed their requirements.
Sounds perfect.
But then that nagging little voice, and often it's imposter syndrome, starts whispering doubts. Oh, you're not qualified enough, or they'll never choose you.
Yeah.
And you end up not even sending the application.
Wow. Yeah.
Or maybe you're already in a job, and when you achieve something great, you kind of downplay it. Or if you get praise, you feel this deep sense of being, undeserving.
Totally.
Have you ever experienced that hesitation or discomfort in your professional life, even when you knew you were capable? It's that gap, isn't it, between what we can demonstrably do and those self-limiting actions. That's a key indicator.
Yeah.
And this isn't just about work, is it? Think about our relationships.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Our connections with others, that can be fertile ground for self-sabotage too.
How so?
Well, difficulties with trust, like a constant suspicion that something will go wrong or that you can't really rely on people. Or maybe you've noticed a tendency to, start unnecessary arguments, creating friction where there wasn't any before.
Pushing people away?
Yeah, or being overly critical towards your partner or even yourself in the relationship, avoiding real intimacy. And sadly, even infidelity can be a form of this.
Wow.
It can also look like being reluctant to ask for help when you really need it, or just withdrawing socially, pushing away the very closeness you might actually crave.
It's like a defense mechanism gone wrong.
Exactly. Insights from a Talkspace therapist, Bisma Anwar, who points to things like gaslighting or excessive criticism, even unwarranted jealousy as potential signs within a relationship dynamic.
Okay.
Have you, listening now, ever recognized any of those patterns maybe impacting your own connections with loved ones?
This really just underscores how far-reaching the consequences can be, doesn't it?
Totally.
It's not isolated. It seeps into our relationships, our career paths, our overall sense of well-being. It ultimately stops us from living in line with what we truly desire.
Okay, so we've painted a picture sort of what self-sabotage looks like in action.
Right, the symptoms.
But like we said earlier, it's rarely just about being lazy or lacking willpower. So let's dig a bit deeper. What are some of those fundamental roots? Why do we actually do these self-defeating things?
Well, the book clearly outlines fear as a primary driver, a really big one.
Okay, fear. Makes sense.
And while the fear of failure is, pretty obvious.
Yeah, common.
There's also a significant, often unacknowledged fear of success.
Fear of success. How does that work?
Well, think about it. What are the implications if you actually achieve your goals? Can you handle the increased responsibility? What if you get there, reach that milestone, and then you're just anxious about losing it all.
Ah, okay. The pressure.
Exactly. That underlying fear of the unknown, maybe fear of vulnerability in relationships, or even just the fear of being hurt or abandoned, that can lead us to unconsciously sabotage things. It's almost like a distorted form of self-preservation.
Like our minds are trying to protect us from potential future pain
Yeah,
by kind of limiting our progress now.
precisely. It's trying to keep us safe, even if safe means stuck.
That makes a lot of sense. It's almost like our brains are wired to maintain a certain comfort zone, even if that zone is, well, ultimately unsatisfying.
Right. And then there's the crucial aspect of how we see ourselves, isn't there? Our self-worth.
Oh.
A shaky foundation of self-worth plays a critical role. The book features a counselor, Georgina Sturmer, who really emphasizes this strong link between low self-esteem and self-sabotaging behaviors.
So if you don't feel you deserve good things.
Exactly. If deep down you don't believe you deserve happiness or success, you might, maybe inadvertently, find ways to undermine your own efforts.
Okay.
And this often connects to what the book calls limiting beliefs, those really deeply ingrained negative ideas we hold about ourselves.
Like what? Give me an example.
Oh, things like, I'm just not capable enough, or good things never really last for me, you know?
Yeah, I know those thoughts.
These beliefs often stem from past experiences, maybe even way back in childhood, and it's almost like we unconsciously act in ways that confirm these negative prophecies. It's a self-fulfilling thing.
Wow.
Have you ever caught yourself thinking those kinds of recurring negative thoughts about your own abilities or your worth?
Absolutely. It can feel like an old tape just playing on repeat in the background, constantly reinforcing those doubts. Our past experiences, like our history, can significantly shape these patterns, right?
Yes, definitely. The echoes of our past can be incredibly influential. Difficult or traumatic childhood experiences can leave lasting marks on our psyche. Insecure attachment styles formed early in life can profoundly impact our adult relationships,
Okay.
leading to patterns of maybe pushing people away or sabotaging opportunities for real closeness.
Right.
Trauma, especially, can become deeply embedded and trigger subconscious self-protective mechanisms that, paradoxically, end up resulting in self-sabotage.
It's almost as if our past creates a sort of blueprint for our present interactions.
Yeah, a template.
Even if that template is ultimately harmful for us now.
Exactly.
You mentioned perfectionism earlier.
Right, that relentless chase for some unattainable ideal. It can lead to harsh self-criticism and, very often, just complete avoidance.
So if you feel like you can't do it perfectly,
You might not even try it at all.
got it.
Then there's the intriguing idea of the illusion of control. Sometimes, consciously or unconsciously, causing our own setbacks can feel more psychologically manageable
Really?
than facing the uncertainty of potential failure due to, like, external factors we can't control. It's as if we're subtly taking the reins of our own disappointment, you know?
Right.
Giving ourselves a reason.
Wow, that's a really insightful way to put it. Taking control of the failure.
Kinda, yeah, in a twisted way.
And what about that inner conflict we sometimes feel? Like between what we say we want and what we actually do?
Classic cognitive dissonance.
Okay.
That uncomfortable tension, like, between our stated goals, say wanting to be healthy, and our self-defeating behaviors, like always choosing the unhealthy option.
Yeah.
That tension can lead us to create justifications, excuses that just perpetuate the self-sabotage cycle.
Makes sense.
And finally, there are faulty emotional coping mechanisms, where we might turn to harmful behaviors, overeating, substance use, whatever, as a way to temporarily numb difficult emotions. Fleeting relief, but ultimately just makes the underlying problems worse.
Okay, wow. So we've really explored both the surface stuff, the symptoms, and the much deeper roots of self-sabotage.
Yeah, it's complex.
It's clearly a multifaceted issue, with origins often lying far beneath our conscious awareness. But the crucial question now, for you, our listener, is what practical steps can you actually start taking? How do you begin to break free?
Right.
So where do we start?
Well, one of the most fundamental initial strategies is cultivating self-awareness.
Okay, let's unpack that for our listener. What does cultivating self-awareness really look like when we're talking about self-sabotage?
It's essentially about becoming a really keen observer of your own internal world, your thoughts, your feelings, your actions.
Paying attention.
Yeah, start paying close attention to those patterns we discussed earlier. Like, In what situations do you find yourself most likely to procrastinate? What kind of thoughts tend to pop up when a cool opportunity comes along?
Noticing the triggers.
Exactly. What emotions or circumstances seem to trigger those unhealthy coping habits? As Dr. Sultan highlights in the book, simply acknowledging and accepting that you are engaging in self-sabotage without judgment is a really pivotal first step. And the book suggests a valuable tool, keeping a journal.
Right.
Just documenting when these behaviors happen and what was going on right before. What were you thinking? Identifying your personal triggers, those specific situations, feelings, maybe even interactions that tend to set off your self-sabotaging responses, that can provide really profound insights.
So it's about becoming a more conscious witness to our own stuff, especially in those moments when we feel stuck or we're like veering off course.
Exactly.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
What's a tangible next step our listener can take after they start noticing?
Okay, so once you begin to notice those negative patterns and triggers, the next vital step is to actively challenge your inner critic.
Ah, the critic.
Yeah, and those underlying limiting beliefs that fuel it. Those negative assumptions often kind of crumble under scrutiny. They don't hold up. Ask yourself, is this belief really true? Like 100% true? What concrete evidence supports it?
Right.
And maybe even more importantly, actively look for contrary evidence from your own past. Even small examples where you did succeed or you did defy that negative prediction.
Find the proof against the negative thought.
Exactly.
And I think the next strategy the book emphasizes is just incredibly important for making any change last. Practicing self-compassion.
Oh, absolutely crucial. Couldn't agree more.
Why is that so important here?
Well, self-sabotage often thrives in an environment of harsh self-judgment, right?
Yeah, beating yourself up.
Exactly. When we have a setback or make a mistake, our inner critic tends to go into overdrive, amplifying feelings of inadequacy. But the book encourages us to consciously try treating ourselves with the same kindness. It's the same understanding, the same encouragement that we would easily offer a close friend if they were facing the same challenge.
Treat yourself like a friend.
Basically, yes. Mistakes are just an inherent part of being human, and setbacks are pretty much inevitable on any path of growth or change.
True.
Self-compassion isn't about making excuses or letting ourselves off the hook entirely. It's about cultivating that inner resilience we need to learn from missteps and get back on track, but with more self-acceptance, less judgment.
So it's about consciously shifting from being our own harshest adversary
Yeah.
to becoming our own most supportive ally.
Beautifully put, yes.
That feels like a really profound and honestly potentially transformative shift.
It truly is. And these initial steps, cultivating that deeper self-awareness, actively challenging those negative beliefs, and consistently practicing self-compassion.
Yeah.
While they might seem kind of simple on the surface, they actually form a remarkably strong foundation for starting to break free from that often really entrenched cycle of self-sabotage.
So just to kind of bring it all together for you, our listener, we've explored how self-sabotage shows up in our lives, right? Through those familiar patterns, procrastination, perfectionism, that relentless negative self-talk, and how it significantly impacts both our careers and our personal relationships.
Big impact.
We've also delved into the underlying roots, often tracing them back to our deepest fears, and that sometimes fragile sense of self-worth, frequently fueled by limiting beliefs and past experiences.
Yeah, the why behind it.
And we've begun to unpack some practical initial strategies for you to start taking control, cultivating that crucial self-awareness, actively challenging your inner critic, and nurturing that really essential skill of self-compassion.
And it's just vital to remember this is a journey,
Great.
Overcoming these often deeply ingrained patterns takes time. It takes consistent effort.
It's not overnight.
Definitely not. There will likely be moments when you feel like you're making great progress and then suddenly experience a temporary setback. That's normal. Be patient and kind to yourself throughout this process.
Recognizing these patterns isn't about assigning blame or beating yourself up over it.
No, not at all.
It's about gaining that crucial understanding that actually empowers you, gives you the power to make different choices moving forward, to ultimately reclaim your own path. Self-sabotage does not have to be a permanent fixture in your life.
It really doesn't. And maybe on that note, here's a final thought for you to take with you this week.
Okay.
Now that you have maybe a deeper understanding of some of the why behind your own potential self-sabotaging tendencies, what's one small, actionable step you can commit to taking? just in the next few days.
Just one small thing.
Yeah, maybe it's simply to consciously challenge one negative thought when it pops up. Or perhaps it's just to offer yourself a little bit more understanding the next time you notice a familiar, unhelpful pattern emerging.
Okay.
Just consider that one small step you can take towards becoming a more self-compassionate and empowered you.